Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be doing something different, and that being a game on the Amiga, which is something that I've never done before until now. And the first game I decided to pick on the Amiga is something that is related to what I really love, and that being the band Motorhead. And yes, they did a game about Motorhead on the Amiga, and it was released in 1992, and it was developed by Kaitsu Software and published by Virgin Games. Now, before we get into the game, one thing I do want to mention is that if you are a fan of Motorhead and you do really love video games, then you know that Lemmy is no stranger to video games. Probably the most well-known game that Lemmy showed up in was in the game Brutal Legend, and as you would expect, he also did the voice. And most recently, there was a game called Victor Vaughn, which just by the looks of it, it kind of looks like a Diablo-style dungeon crawler. But they did make an expansion pack that actually includes a lot of Motorhead stuff, which is pretty awesome, and it really does make me really want to buy the game. But sadly, that expansion pack came out after Lemmy's death, so unfortunately he didn't voice in it. But still a pretty awesome tribute. But anyways, before all of that, there was a game on the Amiga, and it was also released on the Atari ST, and it happened to play as a beat-em-up. So, this right here has potential to be one of the most badass games around. So first, let's talk about the story. So you play as the character Lemmy from the band Motorhead, obviously, and your fellow bandmates have been kidnapped. And kidnapped by who exactly? Well, believe it or not, they are kidnapped by gangs that belong to music genres. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Just for some examples, like you have like a rap gang, you got a country gang, you got like a funk gang, it's just nuts. But as ridiculous as it sounds, I really do like it though. I think it's actually really funny. So now, onto the gameplay. So it's a side-scrolling beat-em-up, and some levels do have some obstacles you gotta avoid, so it's kinda like Double Dragon 2. So you just beat up everyone in sight, get power-ups, pick up healing items, and once you reach the end of the level, you rescue one of your bandmates, and then you do a driving section where you pick up as many power-ups and healing items as much as you can. And then you do a little mini game for bonus points, simple as that. But other than hitting people with your bass guitar, you can also do a solo where you shoot a music note and whenever it hits an enemy, they die instantly. And the other thing you can do is that you can make Lemmy shoot fireballs, so that's actually pretty awesome. So for beat 'em up standards, it's very simple to figure out what you're doing. And now, as for the game's controls, okay, I can't beat around the bush about this, because the controls in this game are pretty shite. But before I can say it's completely shite, is that you gotta remember, the Amiga controller is pretty damn basic. So all you have is a joystick and a fire button, and that's literally it. But the way how the control scheme works though is just really strange. So obviously you move around with the joystick, and when you press the fire button, nothing happens. So how you're supposed to attack in this game? So you gotta hold down the fire button while also holding down right on the joystick. Well, Lemmy will just continue swinging his bass guitar, and if you hold down the fire button with left, then you get to shoot out the music note. And then holding down the fire button with down, you get to do the fireball attack. And doing it with up, you jump. So yes, in this game, you gotta use two commands to jump. And normally in a beat-em-up, you'd think, oh, well, you don't really need to jump that much, do you? Well, the thing is, in this game, because there is some little platform elements here and there, yes, you kinda need to get used to that. And yes, it is as awkward as it sounds. But are the controls at least responsive at what they do? Kinda, not quite, but they aren't the worst that I've ever played. But the controls overall are just really rough. So now, let's move on to the other things, like the graphics. And the graphics for this game, I think are really good for Amiga. So the art style is pretty cartoonish, but I do think it does kind of suit this game, given how it's kind of wacky. I also like the way how they made Lemmy look in this game. He actually looks pretty cool with his mutton chops. And you also get a lot of really funny looking enemies too, which are very over the top. And the backgrounds have some good color to them that suit well with the game, and you get some pretty cool looking backgrounds too, which are nicely done. This game's graphics overall are not only really nice, but they just have a lot of really awesome charm to it, which I really do like a lot. Also, you gotta admit, it's pretty awesome that you actually get to see Lemmy riding a tractor. Like, that's something that you never thought you'd ever see. And now, as for the game's music, so this game's music is pretty decent for the most part, but disappointingly enough, there's no Motorhead songs in here. Like, what? So I guess the company that made this game, they had enough money to license Motorhead and all that fun stuff, but none of his music? Like, really? So that's a shame, but other than that though, the music in this game is pretty decent for the most part. They all fit the levels really well, given that everything is all music genre related, so unfortunately you don't really get a lot of metal songs. Like, the title screen music sounds pretty metal, and same thing with the bonus stages. But other than that, it's all different variety of stuff, which isn't a bad thing given that most of it is actually pretty well done. It's just nothing super crazy memorable, but it fits well. But it's just strange that there's no, like, Motorhead songs within the game, because that's something you would at least expect when going into a game like this. So now, if you wanted to go out and buy this game, well, the thing is, from what I looked up, I couldn't find fuck all. So I would imagine that this game is pretty rare and pretty expensive, but I'm just taking a guess here, given that I've never actually seen an Amiga game in my face before. In fact, I don't even think I've even seen an Amiga in person before, at least not that I can remember. So now, as for my overall thoughts on this game is that, well, this game had potential to be fucking amazing, and of course with its, like, really cool looking graphics that are very charming, and well, the music is a little disappointing, but it's definitely not bad. But the most important thing being the control, it's just not very good. Also, the hit detection in this game is pretty bollocks too. And frustratingly enough, if you get a game over in this game, it's automatically back to the beginning. Yeah, it's one of those games. So you really gotta make sure to stock up on your special power stuff, and make sure to play defensively as much as you can, because if you try playing this game aggressively, you're just gonna get your ass kicked. So this game is really fucking tough, but not in a way that it's really rewarding though, because this game is just way too frustrating. And can you imagine if this game wasn't called Motorhead and had like any of like the cool Motorhead related stuff within it, then this game would be even worse, because that's really the only thing about this game that's kind of keeping me trying hard to like it. It really makes me wish that this game was released on like the Sega Genesis or something. At least that actually has a controller that would work well with this game, because I think that's the biggest problem. It was released on a system that just has a controller that just doesn't work for beat 'em ups. So sadly, even if you're a Motorhead fan, this game is very hard to recommend to people to play. I mean, it's cool to look at, but it definitely isn't fun to play. So yeah, if you do want to play a game with Motorhead within it that's actually good, just play Brutal Legend. Even though I know that game is pretty mixed with a lot of people, it's at least way better than this game and way more functionable. And I still haven't played Victor Vron yet, but it does look like a really cool game, and I do want to check it out one of these days. So without ending this on a depressing note, I have a question for all you guys out there. What is your favorite Motorhead song? And by the way, Ace of Spades doesn't count, because let's face it, anyone that knows what the hell Motorhead is knows what that fucking song is. It's like the most overplayed song by them ever. But don't get me wrong, it's a good song and all, but I just feel like they have other songs that are not nearly as well known that are like way better. The same thing can be said with Blue Oyster Cult with the song Don't Fear the Reaper. It's good and a fantastic band, but they just have other songs that are way better that just never get talked about as much. So with that being said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.